Yep. Thank you very much. Welcome to this morning African breakout session. It was my pleasure as Hindu Umar Ibrahim. I'm coming from Chad. I'm working with indigenous peoples and with my sister here, Francine, from the African Union Youth to co-moderate this morning session. So thank you very much, Juliet, to involve both of us in this morning session and very energetic with the youth. So this session is co-organized by United Nations Office of the Special Advisor of Africa and also with the Pan-African Youth Union, in which my sister here is the president, and the African Union Youth Program, the African Development Bank, and the United Nations Development Program. So thank you so much for those organizations to host this event and to co-organize this important way forward for the SDG and youth in Africa. And don't forget, this session have the hashtag Youth2030, and it's also live streaming for the better participation of other African youth who are not in the room with us, but who can also send the questions. So we do have the team here who are helping us to take the questions back and come back with these discussions. So, as you know, the youth in around the world are growing very fast. As the last UN number, we have 1.2 billion of youth, like 17% around the world. But we do have this growing up very fast again in the African continent. We have 20% of the youth, more than 200 millions. And this number going to be increased by double on the 2030, just by the end of the SDGs. So this is a huge number. It could be a good opportunity for the sustainable development in Africa, because this can create a job, this can give a new leadership, this can give like a new way forward of this African country who is very young, African continent who is very young. But it can be also a big challenge if we do not create a great mechanism to better life of all these youth African. It can be leading them to no job, to unemployment, and that can be a disaster for some regions, as where I'm coming from, a Sahel region, where you already know with all the insecurity issues. So those are the challenge highlight into the concept note if you get the chance to read them. So we have the objective here to have very interactive discussions and to give chance to everyone in this room to speak 2-3 minutes to give his views, because we are working to see what will be the priority of the African youth and what will be the recommendation that we want to highlight during the plenary sessions. So that is the discussion of all of us. It's not me and my sister here, but it's all of us who need to be together and to build this recommendation and to go back and report back. So here we are in this short introduction. We do have 1 hour and a half discussions, and I think for the better of all of us, if there is some people who do not speak English and want to intervene in French, we can help translating this one, because this is the youth participation and this is the openness of diversity of Africa. So feel free to do that if you feel you will do interact more, even in Arabic. So, because in Chad we do speak Arabic, and we have also some people in the room who can help us in Arabic, French, and in English. So thank you very much. I'm going to leave the floor to my co-moderator, Francine, here to lead us through the discussions. Francine, you are welcome.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this breakout session on Africa. My task is very simple, and I'm going to guide this discussion as well, co-moderating with my co-moderator. The objectives are very simple. I think it will be very important that we have the background of this breakout session to enable us to have constructive discussions and interactions in terms of what we need to have as outcome, considering that this year has been dedicated by African leaders to the African youth, harnessing the demographic dividend through investment in the young people. So the objectives are simple, consistent with Sustainable Development Goal 1, which you know very well, of the Agenda 2063 and Aspiration 1 and 6 of the African Union Agenda 2063. And we'll have to craft some recommendations so that we can be able to present them to the plenary session. And you all know that following the adoption of Agenda 2063 and its first 10-year implementation plan, it was mandated by paragraph 90 of Agenda 2030. The ECOSOC Youth Forum's regional breakout session on Africa provide a platform. This is a very great platform so that we enable private sectors, member states, including the young people, to be able to interact and seeing the ways in which things can be guided, especially in this session, to have all the input, the African Youth Dimension, to inform the work of the 2017 ECOSOC Youth Forum and high-level political forum on SDGs implementation. In addition, as you all know, we also have to identify concrete policies that can foster youth engagement in the implementation of SDGs 1, 2, 3, 5, 9, and 14 of Agenda 2030, as well as outline the responsibility of young people in the attainment of the 2030 Agenda and Agenda 2063 of the African Union. So the things are very clear in terms of, you all know the figures and statistics when it comes to the young people in the world. My sister here said that we have 1.2 billion youth-aged, 15 to 24 globally as of 2015, accounting for 1 out of every 6 people worldwide. This is predicted as well to go even over 7%, which means there will be 1.3 billion youth by 2030. This global trend had particular pertinence to Africa because Africa has the largest concentration of young people in the world. According to the United Nations, as she said again, 226 million young youth aged 15 to 24 in Africa in 2015, representing nearly 20% of Africa's population, making up to 19% of the world's youth population. If one includes all people, that means the other age below 30, this number increases to a staggering 70% of Africa's population. So you understand what we mean here. So the demographic dividend, 70% of Africa's population. Moreover, the share of Africa's youth in the world is forecasted to increase by 42% by 2030. And it is expected to continue to grow throughout the 21st century, more than doubling from current levels by 2050. So Africa's youth population presents immense opportunities for the continent, while other world regions face an aging population with subsequent issues such as high health cost for elderly care and high demand for skills development. This can also present this demographic is the greatest opportunity of Africa. So to sum up in terms of how we can move with this session, while Africa's demographic, as you know, the theme of this year is harnessing the demographic dividend through investment in the young people, where all partners in Africa will be joining hands in making sure that how we harness this demographic dividend. So this is the great opportunities of demographic dividend. It presents risks as well as opportunity. Unemployment, underdeployment, and lack of social security. just to conclude, to be able to have the way forward and the background of what we are talking about here, it presents risk. Why? Unemployment and underdeployment and lack of social security, educational opportunities, and inclusive governance can drive youth to criminal activities, make them susceptible to recruitment efforts of terrorist organizations. We cannot deny al-Shabaab recruitment in Somalia and other countries without overcoming the unemployment rate of youth on the continent. 60% of African unemployed are the young people. So the discussion here is open to all the private sectors, the academia, the government, all the people who are here, in terms of what specific policy measures can be put in place to harness the demographic dividend in Africa, according to you. So, and what else, how can youth engagement in governance and social reform be strengthened? The representatives of young people who are here, the youth leaders who are here can also be able to tell us. We also have academians who are here. Madam Mame Kani Diop, you are in academia. Tell us, how could the education system be improved to ensure that youth acquire needed skills for Africa's labor market? So let us first move these two questions. Then we can be able to engage later in terms of what other questions follow, the ones that are in front of us on the screen there. So please, the floor is open, and feel free to discuss so that we can be able to have what we can present there in terms of Africa's harnessing the demographic dividend through investment in the young people. The floor is open. I know there are people who like speaking last and then they'll take all the time. Speak now or you never speak. Go ahead.
Well, I have a chance. My name is Garina. I represent private sector. I'm from Silicon Valley, California, U.S. And we work with a lot of NGOs and we work with a lot of youth. And we're trying to bring innovative ideas in the field of social enterprise and social impact. This fall, we are planning to host a youth summit that will bring youth and for discussion about social entrepreneurship. We think this is that's what private organizations can do to help youth to start thinking in the right direction, which is how to create their own businesses, but not just to make money, but also to have a social impact. And we are bringing a lot of private organizations that are based in Silicon Valley that do work with Africa, and we're hoping for a great dialogue there. And we also will have a lot of workshops to teach young people how to think in the right direction. So those of you who are interested to be part of it, please reach out to me. We can talk. But I think private and public sector partnerships is essential in what we're trying to do here.
Thank you very much. So we'll be limited to 1 minute, so we can be able to give each and everyone a chance to speak and to be able to contribute on the subject that we are having. So I want to put somebody on the floor. I don't know, she won't like perhaps it, but I want to ask Madame Mame, French or English? English is okay. As an academia, how do you think education system can improve to ensure that youth acquire needed skills? Because in most cases when jobs are offered, it's lack of experience, especially in Africa, that the young people do not have experience to be offered the job. How can education play a significant role?
Education, I think, is the most important factor in our lives. I'm so sorry. Good morning, everybody. I'm Kani Diop. I'm a PhD fellow at Montclair State University. Education is very important, and I think that is the belief that I have. Education is our way out. That is our way out of poverty. That is our way out of all the ailments that we have actually in the continent. One thing that I cannot accept is to say that we don't have a good education. That is not true. We do have an excellent education. I started my educational system in Senegal all the way to the end of my high school. Then I migrated to France, then came here. When I came here, I was not able to speak English. In very few years, I was able to catch up. Why? Because I had a great foundation. Now we have to go back to those foundations. It's not just because we're looking at what is going on in Western countries and we're telling ourselves that our system is not good. That is not true. And I think somebody like me is the proof. I will tell you one thing. You go online, you Google Mamka Nijop, and you look at the commencement at Montclair State University. I was the outstanding graduate student for somebody who did not learn English, who came here as a sophomore. We can do it. We have it. And we don't need anybody to tell us that our system is not good. The only thing we need is to invest in those youth. We need to put money. We need to have the teachers. We need to recognize the teachers so that they can do what they're supposed to do. So for me, I do believe we have a good system. We need to invest in those youth. And, we will be able to compete anywhere, at any level. We can do it. Thank you so much for putting me on this.
Thanks a lot for those inspirational words. I'm going to give the floor over there to my sister. Those who are following us on Twitter, please, you can tweet, you can hashtag Youth 2030, and you can also be able to ask some of your questions online, and we'll be able to respond to them, and you can intervene online as well. Please, you have the floor.
Thank you. My name is Marie-Jeanne. I'm from Namibia and currently a PhD student at Rutgers University, Newark. And I would just like to speak a little bit to the education factor. For 13 years, I worked in youth in a low-income community in Windhoek. And what the experience is and what the needs are is something that we need to actually speak about. There are a few people who have access to education. There are a few people who have got the ability to do what you've been able to do, madam. But the majority do not have access to the kind of education that we need. And the world is changing, that we need to look at what are those needs, and we need to start focusing on things such as critical thinking skills. We do need to start looking at the fact that mathematics and the ability to operate yourself in an economy that's so techno-savvy, and having access to electricity and having access to computers and having access to the kind of skills that allow you to participate in the global economy is what we need to be speaking about. And access for the majority is still not there, unfortunately. And access, quality education, high quality education for 90% of young African children is where we have to start this conversation, because I think 10% of us are doing well and 10% of us can somehow have some form of social mobility on a global scale. But what's happening to the 90%? And until the 90% is addressed, Africa will always lag behind. And we need to sort of narrow our resources and narrow our focus and start at the bottom and sort of build up. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Marie-Jeanne. I've known you in the activism of youth for so long, and I know what you're talking about. Over there, and then we'll come back to Rebecca, and we'll take Mr. Junior McKendy just after my sister over here, Rebecca. You can take over. Thank you very much.
Hello, my name is LaToya Jones. I'm a PhD student at Rutgers University. I just want to build on what Marie-Jeanne said and the previous speaker. Education is important. Quality of education is also important. But what happens after they have this education? Are there jobs? Are there opportunities? I was just in Uganda at the University of Makerere, and I was talking to Dr. Moses Mazati. We work on a renewable energy education program at Makerere as well as in Fort Portal, and we teach technicians how to build renewable energy devices and maintain them from locally sourced material, and then they propagate by teaching other technicians, etc. So, then we connect them with jobs. We connect them with clients that's going to provide them with jobs at the end of their training. So it's not just about the education, but are there opportunities? He was saying that I asked him, I said, well, there are a lot of students here. I see them. They're working hard. what happens after? And he says, unfortunately, a lot of them, they have the education, it's good education, but there are no jobs there. There are no opportunities for them. So working with the private sector, developing job opportunities, that's going to be another key. And I think if we focus on, renewable energy is one thing, climate change, that could be a positive direction in building infrastructure to provide electricity as well. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. My name is Rebecca from Kenya. Well, let me begin with the current situation in Kenya. 80% of the unemployed Kenyans are below 35 years. This is basically the youth. And every year, 800,000 more youth enter the labor market. Currently, Kenya is ranked number 2 in Africa. When you look at the highest unemployment rate in Africa, Kenya is ranked number 2. So, 90% of unemployed youth in Kenya specifically, and I believe that it's a reflection of the situation in many African countries, that they lack the relevant vocational skills required in the industry. So looking at the education programs that we have in our various countries, I believe that we need a relevant industry-related curriculum integrated in what we already have, so that the youths are able to acquire skills required to come up with innovative business models, not just the current education that we have, where, when we talk of being educated, when we look at how people speak, or probably in their professions, we assume that this person must be educated, but are they able to come up with innovative ways to be able to come up with businesses that are sustainable, that are able to create employment for the fellow youth? I don't think that is the situation, is it? So I'd encourage us to look at ways, probably from this platform, where we can come up with such relevant curricula, so that when integrated in our education programs, can be able to bring up social entrepreneurs. And the other issue is on funding. Well, you see, when we talk of sensitizing the youth on the Agenda 2063, as well as the SDGs, that doesn't really mean much to them when they lack the resources, when they lack the tools required to put to be able to move forward in so that we can be able to achieve these agendas and the goals. So we need to put policies in place to enable us access funding. We also need tax incentives and subsidies to encourage the youth to actually turn their ideas into reality. There should be integrative policies in order to work with social entrepreneurs to support them. I believe these are the two major ways in which we can be able to move forward to realize the Agenda 2063 as well as the SDGs by empowering the youth. So I'm hoping that this forum is not about just dialogue, not about just sharing our ideas, but also look into ways of implementing them moving forward. Yeah.
Rebecca has set the tone. We'll go to Mr. Mukendi. I don't know if it's yes. And then we'll go over there. Women first. Second, I'll go to my sister over there. Third, and fourth, you're going to speak after. And then you take the floor. We're going to conclude with you. And then we'll come back with another round. Make sure that you know that when you're intervening after. But before going to that, Rebecca said something very important, funding. Resources for youth development. This brings us to the question over there, which says, what role should the UN system and multilateral funding organization play in supporting Africa's youth dividend? As far as I know, the African Union, the ministerial youth ministers in May last year adopted the initiative of creating an African Youth Development Fund, which was then later adopted by the Executive Council of the African Union in Kigali during the Summit of Heads of State. So this initiative only need a decision of heads of state to enable this fund exist. And as you know, the Development Bank of Africa has a program which calls Jobs for Youth, which aim at creating 25 million jobs for the young people up to 2025. So how can these partners be able to put these resources in place, and how can these resources be mobilized in terms of having enough resources to champion the youth-related issues? So the ones who will be intervening, try and look into these questions so that we can come back to the objectives of this breakout session. Please, you have the floor, my brother.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. Hello? Fine. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Francine. My name is Makinda. I'm the president of Power African Youth. It's an organization based here in the U.S. We bring together young African entrepreneurs, and we connect them with resources to help them invest back home in Africa. So last year, we attended this same session, and I'm going to be really bold because Mrs. Francine Muyumba, can you listen to me? Thank you. I am very disappointed because last year when we came in this same room, in this forum, we agreed on something. And I'm really surprised that 1 year after, we come here, we sit down again, and we do not even do an evaluation of what we did last year. How can we come every year, sit down, talk about the same things, and then come back the next year and move to something else without even evaluating what we did the previous year? So for me, it's kind of, I don't know if it's serious what we're doing, because what we are going through right now in Africa is a very critical situation. And we cannot come here every year, discuss. Last year we had some ministers, but today I don't even see one minister. We had people from the UN system. I don't see someone from the UN system. Last year, one recommendation of the forum was that the UN organization and the member state were supposed to work not only for the youth, but work with the youth. During the entire year, we reached out to all UN organizations. My organization reached out to all UN organizations. But the first thing and the only answer we got was, we don't have money. We don't have funding. We are not a funding organization. We don't have time. We have 40,000 emails that are coming in every day. You cannot reach out to your member state here. You cannot talk to an embassy. You cannot talk to anyone. So we are all here because we want to bring something on the table. But if people are not there to listen to us, what are we going to do? And this is the same thing, the same issue we are addressing every year. And things are not moving. So I think we have to change the tone and talk to the people seriously. And people have to take us seriously, because it cannot keep going. We said the same thing last year. We're back here. And then even the format of this event, who are the persons that are supposed to help us? We're talking about partnership, private and public partnership. Where is the private sector here? Why another year? Who have the possibility to bring companies here? Back home in Africa, young Africans spend money in telecommunication. They drink beer, they drink alcohol. They spend most of their money. Those companies make money out of the youth. But what are they giving back to the youth? Nothing. And the government is there, they look at that. Why not bring those companies on the table and say, okay, you have to help the youth? What do we need to reach out to that point? I think we are not supposed to be sitting here, just the youth. What are we going to change? What? Nothing. For me, this looks like a joke. Because seriously, we have to change this situation. Francine, we have to be able to work seriously. Because let me take an example. Last year, our organization brought together 30 young entrepreneurs, African, here in the US. I know. And they presented the great project they have for Africa. But at the end of the day, what happened? None of them got the support. None. And we had several UN agencies. We had some trust fund companies that were there, but they had no support. So I think we really need to rethink and re-strategize the way we want to tackle the situation if we really want to have change.
Thank you very much, brother.
Let's reach out to private companies. Let's talk to our government and make sure that we we address the situation.
Thanks a
clearly.
lot,
Thank you.
Rino. Thanks a lot. Thanks for those contributions. All we want is actions. I think we are with you. And what we want is not all the speeches of all our leaders that we hear every time.
Thank you.
And the theme of the youth, which they have given again to us, the same things will come. They will have speeches. It does not change the lives of the young people. So I'm joining you in that move, and we should seek all for actions. Please, my sister, you have the floor. And then we can proceed to the... I hope we remember how we're supposed to go. So after her, you go, and then we'll come back here. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Kessie Ekomo. I'm from Central African Republic. I just have one point. The point is that when I look at this question of demographic dividend, I'm asking to myself, demographic dividend for who? I'm coming from a country where we still have war, so like we are in a kind of conflict and post-conflict situation. And those questions that we have here, I don't think that is really matched with our realities there. This is one of the first point, and maybe the second and last one, it's on the education. We talk about education, yes, but once again, based on the situation in my country, and not just in my country, but in some other country in Africa, I'm thinking about a non-formal education, the place and the role of non-formal education, where I think can really help to harnessing also, to touch the point on the on trainings and others opportunities for youth. And it's really linked to the role and the place of NGOs and youth-led organizations. I think that we really have an important role to play, and I hope that we will come out with some ideas to how those organizations can help. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Abdelghani Badia. I'm from Morocco. I'm human rights. I'm human rights officer. I join you, brother, and I join you as well for the questions. These are important questions, but they are addressed to whom? They are addressed to what they can do for us. I mean, it's the government, it's the UN, but the real question is what we can do for ourselves. I mean, and the right thing to think about is that, well, I mean, we need empowerment. We need to be empowered, and we need to, I mean, you come here, for example, and we need to connect and to learn from each other. I mean, I was engaged, I was a part of the COP22, the climate talks in Marrakesh, the COP team, and I was traveling in a few African countries, to Ghana and Nigeria, and I met there with like young leaders, and they have some very, very great ideas for climate. So if you don't connect, if you don't network, you won't. I mean, we don't need the government. Of course, of course, but we need to do something by ourselves. If we connect, if we share best practices. You talk about the private sector. If I'm empowered, I am the private sector. I will start my own business. I won't need someone to give me the money to start a business, but I need someone to open my eyes, and I need to connect with others young entrepreneurs, and that's how we really can. And another thing is that when we talk about youth, I mean, in the Agenda 2063, or we talk about vulnerable groups, including women, youth, and children, or something, or people with disabilities. In human rights, in the human rights world, women, it's like group rights. It's a group. Children, group. Disability rights, it's a group. But youth, it's not a group. Because youth, it's women, it's disability rights, it's children's rights as well somehow. So it's not. I mean, we need to change thinking about that. And youth is not talking about vulnerable groups, including women. Youth is not a group. So we need to when we talk about youth, we need to have one section about youth, not including it in other groups. Thank you.
Thank you. Next one.
Ladies and gentlemen, I really want to thank you all. Madam Chairlady, I really want to thank you. I'm Wilson Foggy. I'm coming from Cameroon. Okay. I'm coming from Cameroon, and I'm really interested with the question where you have how can the private sector expand support for skills development, job creation, and building partnership through entrepreneurship. I think we are here today to see how we promote this in Africa, and we should be thinking on not only what we get from the government, but how we can push the government. I'm the African Regional Coordinator for the international campaign for the United Nations to declare 2020-2030 Youth Employment Decade. It's coordinated by Novo Sodes Foundation from Spain and sponsored by the Spanish government. And we have been working a lot concerning how we can improve on the educational system as far as job creation is concerned in Africa. And I think I'm really scared here because from our research, the African government, they have good policies on board. And most of these policies have not yet been implemented because I think of two reasons. One, financial support. Two, technical support. And I'm throwing this on the floor because our next plan of action for 2017 is to meet the government and we see how we can come up with a strategic plan of action for 2020, 2030 per specific country on the job creation and decent work. So this is an opportunity whereby after this session, I'll be interested to have partners where we can come together. And I'm also happy to announce the presence of the international coordinator of our mission from Spain, Madame Maria Novo, who is here with us today from Spain. I think we have to do a lot for Africa, and I think a lot needs to be done. Money is only part of the challenge too, but then if we have good ideas, I think we can do something. So I want to thank you all.
Thank you. Please, next one. He has touched what is very important, entrepreneurship. Vital to job creations. We can never overcome the unemployment rate if we do not support young people's entrepreneurial projects. So this should be one of the discussion as well. Concrete actions. Should we continue talking about all these forums and all these themes? Or should we advocate for more actions? Both from the partners, the United Nations, member states, and everyone. Instead of doing forums and talking about youth, we gather them. What happened after? So we bring them to do something for them. So the challenge is here. Let us come out with concrete outcomes for this breakout session of Africa, considering that the AU theme this year is on Africa. Here you have partners, academians, experts, and everyone. We are coming from all over the world, focusing now on Africa. So let us be able to come up with tangible and concrete resolutions instead of us going back with the same words and outcome that we normally have. Now I'm happy we have also the government here because we were only private sectors and so on. I have my brother here, is also a senior and a director, if I'm not mistaken, of youth in Angola. And also we have also the government there from Zambia, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm happy to know that they are in the room. So they can be also to be able to tell us. From Malawi as well. So thank you very much, sir. So we'll give him the floor before all of you for the... Thank you very much, sir. Go ahead.
Sorry, please. I was on the floor before. I'm also representing the government. I'm a minister. Thank you.
You can go ahead. We'll come back to you. It's fine.
Yes, thank you very much. My name is Bai Mahmoud Bangura, Minister of Youth Affairs, Republic of Sierra Leone. I want to speak on the perception of policy harmony, agenda concentration in the aspect of looking at youth issues at regional level. We are discussing at United Nations level, ECOSOC, looking at how young people can contribute in the aspect of eradicating poverty. We must also take into consideration that in as much as we are looking at the problems of young people in a global perspective, the challenges at the regional perspective are quite different because the demographic and the geographic factors that influences change in Africa are quite different from any other part of the world. The history, culture, and other aspects are quite different. That is why sometimes when we have a global program, we find it very difficult to domesticate short global programs at regional level. Let's take, for instance, Africa General Assembly of Head of States are discussing this year the the theme on enhancing demographic dividend, investing on the youth. And when you look at that, have we figured out the nexus of that theme to Vision 2063? That is the agenda for the United Nations in terms of eradicating poverty. We have to also look at how this agenda can reflect to African realities. Because Africa, we have categories of states. Some have economic challenges, some are fragile states in terms of conflict. Are these states part of the speculations of a smooth flow in terms of investment? We have to look at these perspectives and we'll be able to harmonize them. The ADB came out, as you mentioned, right? Came out with a suggestion in terms of investing on the youth. They are investing for the next 10 years, investing on 25 million youth in terms of creating job opportunities to impact 50 million youth. I think as Africans, that should be the concentration. That is making job creators instead of creating just job for youth, but creating youth that can create and multiply jobs. Meaning we have to promote and invest creativity, innovation, and entrepreneurship. And also statistics have created an assessment that showed clear that the biggest employer in terms of African perspective is agriculture. And because this is the place where African youth voluntarily engage themselves. For the fact the educational system, the curriculum in Africa at current status is not befitting to the job market. So we need vocational training, as a colleague mentioned, somebody mentioned here, that we need these areas that can equip the young people of Africa for them to multiply and recreate more jobs for other people that can make them masters. Very important issue also that is affecting Africa is that of illegal migration. Today, we're all having a tip of the desperate truth at Libya, when we have a mass exodus of young people across Africa to cross the Mediterranean to Europe, seeking for what? Jobs. Asking each and every one of them will not tell you they are going for education. They are going for jobs. Meaning, we must look also at alternatives that will create sustainability in as much as we want to make the youth engage in beneficial education so that we can check the excesses of illegal migration. I want to pause here. Of course, I look at it at a wider policy perspective. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I hope we have finished this side so we can move once for all the other side. Were there still one more person here? Yes, please, the lady over there. And then we'll come back to Mr. Lord. And then after you have done this site as well, she'll come in with some questions and we can see how to move. Let us finish quickly the 2 minutes, and then when we come here, we start there.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. My name is Miriam Vieira from Permanent Mission of Cabo Verde, so I'm representing here the government. And I'm very pleased to sit here and then listen to the vibrant voices, the voices of change. Because here, from what I just heard, you want change. And then this is the best moment because we do have a huge task to implement the Agenda 2030. And then for my government, it's very important to, when it comes to the question of youth, to try to find the best way when the youth can have an important role to play in implementing the Agenda 2030. When I saw the first question regarding the demographic dividend, so we think it's very important, and then it's something that all of us, it's not just government, it's not just civil society, parliament, and private sector that have an important role to play in order to harnessing the demographic dividend. And if you allow me, Madam Moderator, I would like just to bring to your attention one of the recommendation that was highlighted in the UNFPA and African Institute for Development Policy report when they studied the question of demographic dividend in Africa. They highlighted some comprehensive reforms that countries need to enact and implement in order to maximize the demographic dividend. The first one was to accelerate the demographic transition through investment that can enhance child survival and improve education and general empower of women and girls. And then second pillars of this reform is also to enhance investment in high level of education, as we just heard many interventions that highlight this question of the high level of education in order to develop innovative labor force. The third pillar is to increase investments in the health sector to nurture a healthy and productive labor force. And fourth, implement sound economic reforms and develop necessary infrastructure to accelerate economic growth and job creation for rapidly expanding labor force. And then the last but not least important pillar, which is enhance good governance, accountability and performance management to ensure efficient delivery of public service. But it's not just a question of reform. We, as a continent where you have the vast majority of countries who are developing countries, so what we need is also the means of implementation. And then, as it's highlighted in the Agenda 2030, one of the components of this agenda is the means of implementation. There is a need for financing for development, the capacity building. Here we are talking about not just education, high level of education, but also professional training, institutional capacity building, also governments, as I highlighted. But it's a government that can be oriented to results. And first, and also finally, the transfer of technology. We do need the technology in Africa in order to boost our policies that we have been implementing in our vibrant continent. I thank you.
Thanks a lot, my sister. Those who intervene after, take 1 minute so that we can give other people a chance. Please, I hope we are fine on that one. Otherwise, we'll apply the rules. Thank you very much. So we can go on.
All right. Thank you so much. I will try and be fast. Number one, African universities should increase operation in the area of research and development. Most courses offered by African universities are not based on evidence. Number two, the gap between universities and industry should be closed. There is a huge gap between universities and industry. Universities are training people that cannot fit in industry. Industry has no time to train people. They don't have patience. Next point, industry itself. To give credit where it's due, there are some African universities that are very innovative, but industry is stuck. Number three, who is going to transfer this technology to us in Africa? Africa is training engineers that want to work in high-rise building. Africa is training agriculturalists that want white-collar jobs. When will our engineers begin to invent technology? Let's invent our own technology as Africa. My final point, I am 58 years old. 2 years' time, I will be retiring. Where am I going? I am going to Africa's future. I am very impressed with the passion and anger of the African youth. But what I am saying to you, is the story, as I close, of 5 graduates from the University of Agriculture and Technology in Malawi who graduated with degrees in irrigation engineering. They went to the Department of Irrigation. They were told there are no jobs. The only institution offering jobs in engineering was that department. What did they do? They sat down, they set up a consultancy firm in irrigation engineering. Today, the UN bodies that work in the field of irrigation are hiring them as consultants to the government department that told them there is no job. African youth can begin to do. If you wait for us grown-ups, unfortunately, our generation is not intergenerational in thinking. If you wait for us, you will wait forever. Be on the move.
Amazing. Good to hear from government. I'm going to come back. Since we're still on government, I want to put Mr. Kikas Machado on the floor. He's the National Director for Youth Policies in Angola. He has worked for so long on youth issues. Maybe can also be able to contribute toward what has been said. Also from government before we bring the youth back to the table. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Moderator, my friend Francine. Of course, I used to be a youth leader for a very long time. Still young, I think. And I still work for youth now as at the other side, as government. And what I have to contribute here is just a very concrete point that is related to what we are doing in my country. What we realize or what we see is that African youth is very creative and it has a lot of potential. Myself, I know because I used to be youth leader, as I said, in a very short period of time, and now I'm working with the youth policies. What we have been losing the point is that when we go from Cairo to Durban, wherever in Africa, what we see young people trying to survive with their own, selling things in the street, inventing things to survive every day. We need to approach this seriously and with very concrete idea. And what we were working in is to make as short as possible the gap between the youth ideas and project and access to finance. On normal way, young people in Africa is facing very huge difficult to access to the bank's product, finance product. And that there is where the ideas of young people normally get lost. So as proposal, and this is things that we are doing in Angola and is working, is create special funds to finance young people projects and ideas. And this fund must not have the same principle as the normal banks' demands for financing projects. That doesn't work at all. When you go to banks, they want guarantees, they have what can I say, that tax, very big tax interests, and young people cannot afford that one. And here, when you go to Europe or to Asia or in America, where we are now, the people has heritage. They get from their fathers money, property, wherever. So they have guarantees. A country like mine that comes from the war experience during long and very long periods of time, there is no accumulated riches in the families. So you cannot say to these young people, oh no, you have to write a good project, a good plan, and then submit to bank. Doesn't work. And this generation of African youth is, on my view, the most potential to take Africa to the next step. Because the last generation, they have in mind just the idea of liberty, independence, and they did. So we need to promote a new generation to step forward. And this one needs support. Not only training, professional training, but mainly financial channels to implement the ideas. We have been seeing a lot of potential young people of Africa going abroad of the continent, winning prize in technologies, creating new products, but they don't come to the market. Why? Because of financial part of this of the project. So we have to approach very seriously the issue of financing project. And for me, as conclusion and recommendation for this session is to create a quick channel, practical product, financial product to support young people idea, young people entrepreneurship in Africa. I thank you.
I want to count how many people here so that we can be able to answer also some questions that are coming through internet, online, because many young people are also participating through the internet. So we'll be taking some questions after your intervention. So I'm going to go first here, then I'll come to you, then I'll go there, we'll conclude there. Then we can go another closing. We are only left with 20 minutes. I want to remind each and everyone. If you go beyond 1 minute, I will kindly and nicely try and cut it. So please, you have the floor.
Yes, thank you very much. My name is Jack. I'm from Reststvenom, a youth-led agency, work across 6 countries in Africa. And I specifically want to talk about the point about funding projects. And all of us in this room need to create real meaningful opportunities for young people to engage and participate, not only because it's their right, but it's also increased the effectiveness of these funding projects. For example, we need young people to tell us where the funding should go. For example, we have a project with the MasterCard Foundation called the East Africa Youth Think Tank, where young people lead their own research across youth employability in the region, but then they tell us exactly where the funding should go, and they sort of analyze the current trends. But then also, young people need to be able to monitor the projects being implemented and hold not only governments, but also CSOs, private sector, to account over the projects that they promise that will be implemented. This is not only sort of increases the effectiveness of this because it's young people generating their own data as well as collecting sort of government source data, but it's also their right, and it builds the trust in local services, in governments. It builds their confidence to sort of go on and develop and lead their own stuff. So it's a real sort of win-win situation here for young people if we just meaningfully engage and create the spaces for them to participate. Thank you.
My name is Lina, and I work with Oxfam. And a couple of things. One is supporting young youth movements, youth organizations that already exist. I think this many times we are very tempted to create spaces when instead of going and supporting what is already there, and I think that is key. The other thing is for governments, there needs to be policies that tackle inequality. And Oxfam just published in January staggering figures saying 8 men own the same wealth as half of the rest of the population in the world. And so these are tackling inequality is crucial because inequality is impacting young people in Africa and in many countries of the world. And one of the ways to go about that is dealing with the tax dodging that is going on and the fact that Africa is losing millions and millions by not collecting these taxes that are being hidden somewhere else, money that is not being invested in public services, free and quality public services for young people in Africa. Thank you.
Take my brother over there. After you will come to the internet questions, and then we'll conclude with the few people that are left at the back there. I've seen you, I've noted, don't worry.
Okay, thank you so much. My name is Hilary Taylor, and I'm representing the World Federation of United Nations Associations. Africa has the potential to also get the next Silicon Valley in our own continent because we have the resources. Look at the minerals like gold, the gas, oil, the diamonds. If we use them effectively, then we're going to have also the next Silicon Valley in Africa. And the main challenge we have in Africa is governance. We have leaders who have clinched on power for over 2 decades, 3 decades. Those leaders can't take us forward. Look at countries that have leaders that have been in power for over 30 years. Zimbabwe, their economy is staggering. My own country, Uganda, our president is leading us for over 30 years. We are going nowhere. Uganda has the youngest population in the world, but we have high rates of unemployment. That's why you said we have very many economic migrants to Europe, to USA. But if we are to bring back the Pan-Africanism that our nationalists had, like Kwame Nkrumah, Tom Mboya, Amilcar Cabral, Nelson Mandela, even Muammar Gaddafi, they had that spirit of a united Africa, an Africa that shares common goals and looking forward to a common destiny. So look at things like agriculture. Agriculture is like the economic backbone of our continent. Over 70% of Africans are engaged in agriculture, but leaders have decided not to invest in agriculture. If you look at the budgets, our national budgets, agriculture is getting peanuts. It's getting about 12%. If the population has potential in agriculture, take us forward, why wouldn't governments prioritize agriculture to move us forward? Why wouldn't governments promote intertrade, Africa within Africa, Africa to Africa? But they are looking at outside markets. First, let's begin with Africa. If we promote intertrade Africa, then the money is going to remain within the continent. It's going to develop our continent. The more we export beyond Africa, the more our economy or continent is going to suffer. Then the more the spirits of Nelson Mandela and Kwame Nkrumah are going to cry. So look at also the things my brother from Angola was talking about, financing projects for young people. In Uganda, the government brings projects that are going to empower young people, but they bring them towards campaigns in order to attract young people to come and give them votes. They're like, hey, okay, now we have a project. We're going to put like 5 billion, and we encourage all young people to come, seek funds for these projects. But again, they're going to tell us bring collateral security. We don't have land titles. You find a young person who has, initiatives or ideas of innovation, and he has a small budget of, say, $2,000, but the banks are saying, hey, bring the land title. Where is that young person going to bring the land title from, really? Then also, look at this book. It's called Dead Aid by Dambisa Moyo from Zambia. Dambisa Moyo surely shows you how aid is not working in Africa. Leaders have decided, to put aid in wrong, in wrong channels. The aid we're receiving from developed countries, it's satisfying our corrupt African leaders. So the more aid we get from foreign donors, the more corruption we're encouraging in African leaders, and that's a terrible cancer on our continent. So as private sectors, as potential donors, maybe who are here, look at youth-led projects. Come on ground and support the youth-led projects on the grassroots. Come on ground and give the money to the private sectors who can bring potential or, youth, development on our African continent. Because the more you waste your money giving it to the governments, the more we're going to continue with, a staggering economy. And also, one thing I wanted to talk about is, this is very important because we have the issue.
Everybody
of
has important
youth.
comments.
Oh, all right, yeah, I'm summarizing. We have
Yes,
the issue of youth manipulation and tokenism in Africa. We, the young leaders, have also denied our fellow leaders. You get a chance of working in the president's office, but you're feeding on handouts you're getting from presidents. You're not, speaking on behalf of the young people in the communities. Because the president is giving you money in brown envelopes, you keep silent and you go with their agendas. But speak out for the young people who have no opportunity to speak to the presidents. Thank you so much.
Now we'll go online to those young people also asking online to make sure that we have inclusiveness in this discussion. Then we'll come back and conclude there. We have how many people? Then we have Madam Kati here. She will also contribute so that it's not only young people speaking. Are there other hands here? Come on, guys. We have 20 minutes. We'll do our best. 30 seconds now. We have cut it down from that one. Please, you have the floor. We must get the time. The internet first. Huh? Thank you. Please, my sister, read the question.
Sorry, Co-Moderator. I just want to remind we have less than 20 minutes because we need to wrap up and we need to report back at 11. And now on, it's 10:45. So just we have to be a bit realistic. African issues are very important. Thank you for those who are following us through internet, and we really value your participation there. Let us just pick one questions like this, and if we can come from our friend, colleagues, Musa Sisi Barne, Youth Employment Support from Uganda. He's saying that, well aware that the youth are not a homogeneous lot with distinctive feature like education, elite versus illiterate, settlement, rural versus urban, etc. Then he said, how do you think government and private sector players can address unemployment challenges on the African continent without leaving no one behind? And this is, I think, the SDGs, without leaving no one behind. So, sorry, his question came late because we have few times. So if we can focus on this one and respond, and that we can get participation from our followers into the internet. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Those are questions of youth online. They can also contribute in giving their recommendations to be considered because we have not much time. We want to conclude this site and then we can move. Please, my sister over there. Yes, at the back.
Okay. Thank you so much. My name is Anna Matsika. I represent an organization called The Space from Zimbabwe. So The Space is an international platform organized and convened by young people in Zimbabwe to reimagine the future of Zimbabwe and Africa at large. So I wanted to address just some of the questions that were being asked by people. At The Space, we have created what we call the Youth 2030 Monitoring Framework. We were tired of government sitting and saying we are going to be prioritizing young people. But what exactly do they mean? They have been saying this, even the UN has been saying this for so many years. What does it mean? So we came up with a Youth 2030 Monitoring Framework, which is pinned on a core model that we say break it down. If as USID is, if as Oxfam is, if as DFID, you're saying you're going to be working to support young people, break it down for us. What exactly are you going to be doing so that we hold you accountable? So every year we convene an international platform that we call The Space, where we bring the UN, we bring all these other funding organizations to be asked the questions by young people. What have you been doing the whole year in Zimbabwe? What have you been doing in Africa? You said you're going to be doing this. You made a commitment. What have you done so far? So I'm encouraging other young people in this room, go back to your countries, create this youth monitoring framework where you take them, to account for the commitments that they have made. We are tired of people convening in conferences and making commitments that they have never been able to come through with. It's time for us to hold them accountable. My brother was complaining about the gap in terms of industry and young people. At the space, we have created what we call the School of Social Engineering. Of course, there is a problem. We are going to build our own leaders. If we want Francine to be running as president someday, we need to build the type of, we want to build the type of leader we want as young people. We're not going to be crying again in 2030 after we've put someone in place who does not understand our issues. We need to build our own leaders. In terms of business and change and SDGs, at the School of Social Engineering, we are building the type of business leader that we want to see in 2030. We are tired of waiting for these institutions to train us, to mentor us. What we do is we are taking the private sector, the academics, we are designing a new curriculum in our School of Social Engineering to build the type of youth that we want. We coordinate with our UN resident coordinator. We bring him to our meetings. It's time we take the lead. So for us at the space, we say we take the lead, we push, we take him to the people. We are not waiting for him to come and tell us that we're going to be giving you more money in Zimbabwe. We are taking the lead. We are pushing him. Unless and until we push them, they will not take youth seriously. They have other things to talk about, food security, peace and security in the continent. So the youth is, I think, at the end of their agenda. So unless we make it a priority, we make it number one for us, they are not going to take us serious. So my brother, I think we need to push. Go back to the UN offices and tell them you want to see the UN resident coordinator. See the ambassador yourself and bring him. If you can't, please contact the space. We'll be able to help you. Thank you.
We are enjoying the comments here. We are enjoying call for actions. 1, 2, 3 day, 30 second 4. We are concluding if those 4 decide. And then we have to move here because we only have 5 minutes, I think, left. 30 seconds, it's no longer 1 minute. Please, you have the floor. The lady first, women first. Yes, and then IPP there.
We did not wait for people to come and do it for us. We stood, we were persistent. We said no, we want to see change, and it happened. But it happened in Dubai. He said no, but ECOWAS stood, AU stood, and said yes. They said they don't want you anymore, you have to go. Nobody died, no animal died, which was a plus to everybody. All of us here, Africa can do it if we believe in ourselves.
Is there a microphone close to you? Is there a microphone so that we can hear you properly? Anyway, please come closer. Yes.
I said, like I was saying, I just want to say thank you to ECOWAS, AU, for helping us, the Gambian people, to put out a dictator for 22 years. Before, I cannot even come here and stand and talk about the Gambia, because the next minute I go home, my parents, my mother, or my brothers will be arrested. But today, I can stand here and say what I believed in, what has happened. It is all because we did it, we believed in ourselves, and we were persistent. And it was done by who? Africans. So for me today, I am proud to be an African. Number 2, I have an issue. We come together, we talk about African unity, we have to eradicate poverty. How are we going to eradicate poverty? When we young people, we come here, we talk about young people. The moment we have opportunities to work in the government, we forget about all the beliefs we stood for. So if we want to see Africa change, we have to start with ourselves. Whatever I advocate for, even if I'm in government, I should believe in it and stand for it. The other thing I wanted to say is, we talk about Africa. We should be united. We should help one another. I need a visa to go to Angola, to go to Gabon, to go to South Africa. And we say we are Africans. If we believe we are Africans, let's go back and ask ourselves, We have to unite. Even in my own country, the Gambia, I am seen as a second-class citizen. Because why? My parents are from Guinea-Conakry, but we were born in the Gambia. Likewise, other people in other African countries. In Europe and America, we don't see that. As far as you are educated, you have the potential, you believe in yourself, the sky is the limit. So why it is that still we don't want to believe and be hypocrite? I'm sorry to use this word, but we have to be ourselves. We believe in ourselves. Be truthful to ourselves.
Thank you very much.
I always say this thing. Change can never come if we are not persistent and if we do not believe in ourselves. And change starts with yourself. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's a very passionate young African woman. Please have the floor.
30 seconds. My name is Raphael. Nigeria. I'm here. Microphone, please. Microphone. Okay. Yeah, my name is Raphael Ibokwe. I'm from Nigeria, and I'm here on delegation of IPU, Interparliamentary Union. I'm a member of Parliament from Nigeria, House of Representatives. I want to anchor with what my sister has said, and that is on how to hold government accountable on the issue of the SDG goals. And the question I want to put is how much are we taking advantage of our young people in Parliament? I think that is a very strong front with which we can hold government accountable. And we will come here with all the policies and decisions. You put it to government. I'm happy a minister is here. It's at their discretion. But the Parliament holds government accountable. And the IPU have set up a policy of encouraging the formation of young parliamentarians forum in all parliaments, and especially in Africa. Let me use this opportunity to inform you that it's very strong in Nigeria. We serve as a platform for young people to express their opinion. We champion the cause of young people. And I'm happy to inform you, the UN and AU, I know you'll be doing that soon, global launch of young parliamentarians, Not Too Young to Run, was an initiative of young parliamentarians in Nigeria. So what we are trying to say, we are moving this cause forward, and we are charging you in Senegal, in Ghana. We're coming around to set up. So there's a platform where you take your issues to, so that wherever your voice cannot get to, they add to your voice and you'll be heard. And where you stretch your hands, you can get to, they help you to pull it up. My sister from Gambia, in all you said, I had expected you to say a special thank you to Nigeria. So I just want to say and inform the House, we have forums of young parliamentarians in parliaments. We want to encourage you to approach your representatives. Like she said, going to UN, that is much further.
Thank you, Honorable.
Representative, and they will always be there to give you
Thank you very
support.
much, Honorable.
And I want to invite the House, in July, we'll be having the African Global Young Parliamentarians Conference in Nigeria, which will be sponsored by IPU. So I think it will give us better insight on how we can take advantage of Parliament.
We have Madam Katie. Just 1 second, then we're going to conclude with the two people there.
We are under planning a venue for the 13th of March. A lot of you will have delegates coming to the CSW NGO. In that event, we will have people from corporations, a dinner party, networking with African-American counterparts, all people from New York City. So there we can exchange ideas. There will be investors. And the interactive part by you, you can send me information of who you would like to see at that conference. Do you want doctors? Do you want Boeing? Do you want microscope companies, medical companies? You tell me who you want. I will invite them. Again, it's March 13th in the Borough President's office of Brooklyn. He loves the international community, and we plan to be a very productive company. So whoever your young people want to see, you send me a note, and I guarantee you're going to have a representative there. Thank you. And
we want Donald Trump.
Thank you very much. Thanks.
Questions.
I'm quite stuck now. I'm quite stuck now of the time. Otherwise, we won't be able to report back, and this will end here. So I'm left with 3 minutes. 3 minutes. So we're going to take 2 there, 2 this side, means 30 seconds each. So go fast.
I'm coming from the Republic of Malawi, representing young people there. What I'm seeing is that African leaders have lost direction. What I mean by lost direction is that they are addressing wrong issues and not those that are affecting young people. The government, the leaders are full of softwares projects. Up to now, maybe some few countries can point out that they have serious programs targeting young people, especially young people. But most of the activities that are being mentioned on political podiums, that come 2020, I will do ABCD. Come 2020, I will do ABCD. But when it is 2020, ask them, they are nowhere to be seen. So what I'm saying is that African leaders have lost direction, and as such, they are sitting on hidden treasure. A treasure that if maybe they can expose it, Africa will not remain the way Africa it is as of now. The second issue is that
please, one issue, please,
okay.
Please.
Political interest.
Okay.
And political, thank you very much.
We conclude this site here, and there's 2 seconds. Please go ahead, 2 minutes. Then we'll conclude the Reverend over here.
I'm going to be very brief. My name is Dawit Haile. I represent the Eritrean Youth and Community Affairs. I just want to mention that as young people are sitting and gathering here today to find ways on achieving Millennium Development Goals or Sustainable Development Goals, one issue that we can learn or we can lesson that we can draw would be from Eritrea was able to achieve 6 out of 8 the Millennium Development Goals, one of the 2 countries in Africa or 3 countries in Africa. That was done in conjunction with government, private sector, and one thing that we're forgetting here is the diaspora. The diaspora has a very, very important role in playing because we were able to engage the diaspora in transferring technology, know-hows, and money, and also with the other government agencies and so on. So that's
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Please conclude the day, that side. Reverend, you have 1 second.
1 second.
Yes. Let him conclude, then you have your 1 second.
Okay, 1 second. Okay, I have a couple of comments, but I'll just provide 2. The first one is around time. You know, it's so amazing the way the format of this is being run. African leaders, unfortunately, don't give much time to youth to express themselves. So the pressure we're facing here, it's kind of duplicating or reflecting what's happening. They give you only 5 or 10 minutes to explain the frustration that is in community, while that frustration has been there for years. That's what we're facing here. We have only 30 seconds, but issues are great. And the second, probably my last comment, which I think should be a strong recommendation, when we talk about engaging the youth, so often we have that framework of engaging the youth in urban cities and big places. Technology we're talking about, higher education is big cities. We should also look and invest in rural development and see what type of skills we need to put down there, and I'm hoping
Thanks
that
a lot.
will change.
Reverend, you are closing. Yeah. You have your 1 second, yes, with interventions. Thank you.
I work with an organization called Uni Settlement, a grassroots organization, and also the Universal Zulu Nation Worldwide Youth Movement. We've been working with Uganda and Tunisia youth, trying to use arts and education as a vehicle to empower young people, help them move forward. Part of what is a big issue that I think our young people are facing is that they have to overcome a lot of internal issues to get them projected towards a lot of the global concerns, national and regional concerns that we're talking about. And if we can empower them to take responsibility for their role in the larger society, then we can begin to the integrated process.
Brent, I don't know if 2 seconds. Fast.
From Kenya, representing Vision 2030 Youth, and I'm also a National Youth Council member.
You're closing.
My contribution is that I believe, yes, we have to hold governments accountable by coming up with tools for monitoring the SDGs, and not just the government, including the international organizations. And I also believe that in Africa, agriculture is the key for creating wealth and jobs among the population. For example, if you take at the value chain, we have the input, seeds, mechanization, labor, transport, ICT technology, marketing, and the rest. And if you look at the current statistics that we have an aging farming population and a growing population. So the issues of food security, which has also brought us here in ending hunger, I believe that we have to come up with mechanisms to attract the youth into farming. Thank you so much, and God bless Africa.
Have one last contribution in terms of everything, then we can quickly close up.
No, we don't have time. So just to say thank you so much for all your contribution through internet and through you people who are here. The one recommendation is how the Bureau here can help maybe to organize next time, longer time for all of us to discuss those issues because they are very important for us. So thank you, my co-moderator, for this question and leading us through the discussion. We have to report back, but sorry if we do not report everything that we talked about it, but we have to put the priority on it. So thank you so much for all your contributions.
So you can be able to give your contributions through writing so that we can put them in the report. And one last thing, we have called for actions. I've noted 3 important things. We want resources to support youth initiatives. And secondly, we should remember the AU theme of 2017 is on youth, enhancing demographic dividend. It has a roadmap, see it online, and we are calling for actions. Thank you very much. I was so good, isn't? I was good, isn't?